We open the November 6, 2024 Select Board meeting. 6:01. Do we have any adjustments to the agenda tonight?
Yes, Tasha Wallace is not, she's ill, so she won't be here with the LCPC. And so she'll be rescheduling, and so that's one adjustment. So likely, can we move up some of the select board review or action items?
We'll make a motion when we get it. Comments from the community? Hearing none, correspondence. We did get correspondence concerning problems with trash up at the cemetery. I assume it's the Taylor Cemetery. Not going to read it to you all, but I'm going to suggest this be sent to the cemetery commissioners to deal with, not us.
Sounds like a great thing. I would like to read it.
I'll pass it around, but I personally don't think it's a select board issue. It's a cemetery commissioner's issue. And FiberNet, yeah, Memorial FiberNet's annual report and budget was submitted, and Michelle has a copy of that if anyone's interested in seeing that. Tasha will not be with us tonight, so I'm going to ask the board if they mind filling in that space with some of the select board review in action. Is that acceptable to the board?
Yeah.
Okay. So one is to formalize the October 23rd email vote concerning the FEMA award of $24,440 for Jones Road project, and not to appeal FEMA's decision on that amount. We've had numerous discussions on that, and correspondence from the state. Looked at the overages on some of the other projects where we could probably make that up. They were really pushing us to move forward with a decision on that. So a decision was made through email, and tonight is just to formalize that action we took. So if you're looking for a motion not to appeal.
I would make the motion not to appeal and to formalize our vote. Our email vote.
I'll second.
And a second, do you have any further discussion on that? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? So carried.
And we go back and approve the meeting minutes.
Oh, yes, I always miss them. Sure. So I'll take a motion to approve the minutes of October 16th, 2024.
I'll make the motion. I'll second it.
So we have a motion and a second. I did have a question on the budget hearings. So you have animal and you presented that. Did you present the figure for that budget?
Yes. You want me to bring it up again?
So I would suggest that every department brings in a budget, that you put the amount they're requesting in the minutes. Because in case we lose it or something, it's a good way to go back. We can go back to the minutes and see what they were requesting for.
Do you want me to add that, post-date that back, like, go back and add it into the other ones that are online? Or just add them into these meetings.
You can just add it in, just so this, I know I go through the minutes and look at them, for budget amounts. And I don't recall getting, did we get anything in writing?
No, because there's nobody to do that. The
No,
annual,
but I meant, did we get a written budget? Or we just got an amount?
no, it was broken out and then you suggested that we had to add in $5,000 Hyde Park and then add in, an additional amount because of the, time it's managed spending
Right.
exceeding the week, the 7 days. in Hyde Park. And we added back in my addition. I can give you the full.
Okay. It's only comment, right? Anyone else? Hearing none, all those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? So carried. Board authorization for myself and Michelle to open a FEMA demolition RFP bids. This has to do with the buyouts. Houses. Just I'm a little concerned that, it's getting to be winter. We only have 90 days. The contractor has to finish the job from the closing date, which was the end of October. Waiting for an assessment for asbestos and lead. If we find it, then I'll have to have someone come and take it out before they can start demolition, and everything is on a tight schedule. So does the board mind if we open up the bids?
I'll make a motion to approve. I'll second then.
Do we have any other comments or discussion on that? Hearing none, all those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? So carried.
I started and seconded. Okay, thank you.
Kurt, do you want to give your,
Yeah, Will here.
yeah, but he's not until 6:30, people have been, so he has been. So,
Yep. Yeah, I'm good for now. Dolan, can I share?
um,
Linda says no.
Oh, Kurt? Sure, we can have Kurt. Give his.
There you go, it should be open.
Can you let me share?
Yeah, it should be good to go.
Okay, great. Somewhere in here. So I just wanted to give everybody an update on some of the more recent progress. As Linda mentioned, there are several projects that have come in over what we anticipated in terms of our claim. And we are now up to having nine projects all the way to obligation. What's remaining right now is the Fraser Road group, Town Hall, and also the Town Hill, East Hill project. So it's just roads and Town Hall that is left at this point. And as soon as I can find my document here, bear with me just a sec. No, that's not it. Sorry, you caught me off guard a little bit here. Oh, it's a spreadsheet, sorry. Just 1 second. There we go, finally. We are now, I'm sorry, we are up to 12 that have been obligated. The recent ads have been the Town Hill Slide, School Street Culvert, East Hill Slide, Flatiron, the one that has come in over our expectation was East Hill Slide that came in 46,007 over what we had anticipated. So that leaves us with
We're
Fraser
not
Road.
seeing any document on the screen.
I'm sorry?
We're not seeing a document on the screen if you're trying to show us one.
Oh, you're not? Okay. Why not? What the heck? Do you see it now? Yes, no?
You're not.
Okay. Well, regardless, sorry about that. I think the explanation probably works then. Is that we are down to the three, and with East Hill Slide, we did come in $46,000 over. The Fraser Road and Associated Road is a rather large group, and is our largest obligation yet to come. All has been kind of quiet with FEMA. I don't know if it's because they are working on the 2024 disaster, or exactly what slowed them down. But still, they're anticipating their original anticipation of closing out the 2023 disaster was about 6 weeks ago. Their new date is around Thanksgiving. So hopefully that will occur. We are seeing some money come in. Those that are obligated have made it to the state. And in turn, there have been grants that have been processed to get money to the town. So I think that is flowing pretty well. Linda probably has a closer grasp on that than I do.
They're trickling in.
What's that?
They're trickling in, money's trickling in.
Okay, great. So that's where we're at. We're down to three, hopefully by Thanksgiving. But we are definitely trending to be close to 5%, 6% over what we anticipated based on our expenditures for all of the various projects. So in the end, I think it's working out okay.
And FEMA, our President Biden did sign something that was going to pay 90% of each project rather than 75.
Right. Yep. So
23. It won't be 24. It's based on the amount of damage the state receives.
so that's all I got.
Thank you. Want to give you a report, Michelle?
You wanted to finish the insurance on the 10th meeting?
No, I was not gonna do insurance, it's gonna take a little bit of time.
Okay, very small block.
But either way,
All right, so, I wanted to do a review and the discussion of the new draft purchasing policy. I don't know if we have time to do that. We want to try to get through that.
We can, all right, I forgot you were doing that, so, do you have anything else, and we'll just come back to you?
Sure. I also emailed around, the request for $660 for the rail trail signage, the, LBRT rail trail signage. And that will be formalized in a proposal, but, they just want to know if, I sent this around, so it's $638.40 as a local match per town for 4 towns. And that gets us the design of 4 panels, the fabrication of 4 panels, a fabrication contingency. I mean, this budget went around. And we have a 20% local match, which was $25.54. So that's 1 sign per town. And each town pays $38. So that's going to be coming around. I just wanted to let you guys know about it. Mike can probably answer any questions.
What kind of sign, what is the sign saying or doing, or the purpose?
It's, I don't know if you just, Mike, can you talk about the sign? The signs that they're pulling together for each town.
Yeah, I'm gonna. Maybe sure.
Okay, so it's, I think I sent it around to you guys.
You did, I saw the email.
I don't have the full document with me.
Is it for business, is it for town, is it for you to
I think
come
it's-
for town?
I think so. I think it's a,
Right. Well, while you're looking for that,
it's the regional kiosk map. So it's a map.
oh, maps, yeah. I have seen that some towns have made those maps. Um, So we have $2,000 sitting in our general fund. We received it in April of '24 from the Vermont Community Foundation, and we haven't designated it for anything. But the grant purpose is for projects that support community recovery from flood damage to the Lamoille Valley Rail Trail and promote use of the Lamoille Valley Rail Trail for the community's economic development. This may include flood cleanup projects, landscape rebuilding events, or other activities. So if the board is in favor of participating in that, that would be a place we could find $660.
It's the estimate for the design and application of kiosk maps at the town, one of the trailheads. It's basically, I don't really have a photo of it.
No, that's good enough. It's the board's favor of moving forward with it, or?
Yeah, sounds like a great deal.
I'll make a motion that we will, participate in purchasing a sign for Wolcott Trailhead.
I'll second.
Can I add that it'll be coming out of the community, Vermont Community Foundation grant portion of it? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Carried.
One question, where would it be located?
Is, Michelle said the kiosk.
Yeah, so there's another project that we have going, possibly having a second kiosk down by the foundation, but that's the next subject that I'm gonna be talking about. I know we have a kiosk up here in the parking lot, so it would be, hopefully, I would hope it could be located closer to the trailhead because we already have our kiosk in the parking lot. I think that's what has been discussed with Mike and Tori. And as well as Jackie, who's the head of the rail trail. So,
Good question. Is that lease yet? The additional land for the front of the rail trail?
no, we have to still put together a proposal, so I have an email out. They need, before we get the lease, we have to make a proposal before we sign a new lease, which has expired, but that's the second part of that email I sent out to you. It's that little map. Map that looks like this. It's the new lease that V-Trans pulled out. They're giving us a lot more area. Looks like another almost.
Yeah, the whole thing, 11,000 square feet.
A little over, it's like
Almost
11,900 square feet. And that's so that we can, it encompasses the old foundation, the old depot foundation. And so it encompasses that area so that we have a little more control over it. We can clear that area of the brush and trees if we wish. What is waiting now before we can actually write this lease is we have to get with the historic, the Vermont Historic Committee. And find out if they have any objections to us using that foundation or clearing it. So the next steps are getting a proposal together, which I've sent a general proposal off to Tori just to get her input. She's going to get back to me, and then we'll present a proposal for this area to the Historic Commission. And then if they approve it, then we can write all of this up in the lease and then get a lease with V-Trans. So that's the process.
Select board is to approve.
Of course. Again. But yes,
Because every time we start a do a new project, a lot of times there's added maintenance and things we have to consider.
the idea was to fill it in possibly, so clear it off a little bit, so we have increased visibility into the town office and then eventually into the schoolhouse. So if we have a new cafe there, we have increased foot traffic. And then you can see the preserved schoolhouse, as well as it gives you an idea that the town office or the town is even here. And then it might encourage some more foot traffic off into the village. And then we'd like to maybe build a foundation with a little bit of gravel, just keep it filled with gravel and put out picnic tables in that area and maybe put up that kiosk map that located at that area. And so Mike has drafted up the work to be done for the removal of trees. And I think Michael has offered to maybe help clear it.
Best I can, yeah.
So things are falling in place, we just need approval.
Have you seen that? What I sent to them?
Yes,
You've all seen it?
yeah, I've added what you said, yeah. And then we've seen this part of it as well.
What I do more, what we can,
Pardon?
I can explain to them a little more.
Yeah, we have to you could, but we have to just get permission from the historic society.
I think every project, I have to get permission to demolish all these houses.
Historic.
Yeah. They write it's called an SHOP or something. That's. They tell you what you can and can't do. And whether you can have heavy equipment in the area, disturbing the ground and.
And I think Tori will know too, if there's some more money out there for this to happen, so we'll see. And then I
So thank
wrote,
you for your work on that.
pardon?
Thank you for your work on that. Yep.
Could there be an addition on there maybe of, you got stores on there maybe for tourists coming through maybe?
In addition to what?
Maybe like a drawing that shows people that stores over there.
That would be fun, or, I mean, you could have a sculpture garden out there, there's a lot that we could do, but we just need to pull those ideas together.
Gotta get it cleared off first and see what we have. No, it's not, it looks wet in there, but it's not in flood zone. That's the first thing, get it cleared off. Then we'll take a look at it.
And then I wrote and submitted a grant for $5,500. It's for a potential $6,000 grant to the Vermont Council on Aging. So for people 60 plus to have 7 art workshops throughout the winter. We'll see if we get it. I hope so, because it could be a lot of fun. I submitted the final reports for Keeler Pond and Elmer Pond roads for the grant and aid project. So it's going to be another 20, maybe 32,000 dollars coming in. One was contracted, and one on Elmer Pond we did the work in house. Dylan and Linda and I have begun our weekly meetings for the FEMA 2024. And then I think I have just enough time to propose this. I'd like to propose discontinuing the phone line that's in the select board admin office. Because I think that we can all easily share the phone line that goes directly to the town clerk's portion. And we would save $68.50 per month, which is a total of $822 per year. And I just want to note that that pricing continues to rise. So it makes sense to me to just get rid of that line.
Would that create a problem with, people talking, the line a long time and see how people were calling in the office?
I don't think that it's rare that you get voicemails, and it's usually when we're out of the office. And I'm not on that phone that often, and I don't think so. I think they would just leave a voicemail.
You're no better than Russ.
We need a motion for that, but there are no objections.
So you're asking to discontinue the 4376 number.
And I don't think it's out there in a lot, and because a lot of the calls go to the town clerk anyway. I would just change everything on the website.
I like saving money.
We can spend it. We have places we can spend money. Keep talking about it. Okay.
The board approved that you take that phone line out.
I didn't know it existed.
Can't take what I don't know about.
Okay. Then I think. That is pretty much what I needed to talk about.
And we'll come back after and work on the purchasing policy. Now we're going to take up, Will is here from Vermont Fish and Wildlife, Will Eldridge. He's an aquatic habitat biologist, and he's going to talk to us about land over at Dead End Road.
Great. Yeah, thanks, Linda. So yeah, my name is Will Eldridge, Vermont Fish and Wildlife Department. And yeah, I wanted to get the board's authorization to acquire the Levi Martin parcel at Dead End Road. So this is a parcel that flooded back in 2023. And he approached the town for a buyout. And I think the town's been working with FEMA on that process. This is a parcel that the Fish and Wildlife Department would be interested in owning long term. It's adjacent to existing land, and we've owned since I think starting in the 60s, back when they decommissioned that old Route 15, and more recent acquisition in the 80s. Anyway, there's been some issues regarding the boundaries around there and public access. So it'd be beneficial for us to own it to secure public access, which is why we own the land in the first place, to provide the public access to the river for fishing and wildlife-based activities. I think launching boats would also be allowed there. And then habitat and flood resiliency benefits. I understand that you all are working on a flood project over there, removing some of the old bridge abutments. And so that's something that we'd like to continue and perhaps expand onto the existing Fish and Wildlife Department land if applicable. As part of this acquisition, the state ownership includes payment of taxes. So we do what's called a pilot payment. It's a payment in lieu of taxes. And so that part I don't have any information on right now because there is some discrepancy in what the area of the parcel is. And so as part of this acquisition, we would have to do a survey to actually determine what land it is that we would acquire. And then that would be used to determine the pilot payment. But yeah, if you have any questions, I'll be happy to answer them.
So my understanding is the town will continue going through the buyout. And FEMA will pay for all that. And then the land will transfer over to you. Is that how it works? I've never done this before.
Sure. Yeah. We're trying to. So we're working. This is the process is something that we're working with Vermont Emergency Management to figure out. But ideally, we would basically insert ourselves as the buyer, or not the buyer, but like acquiring the process at closing. So rather than it going to the town, it would come directly from the current owner to Fish and Wildlife Department. And that's the model that we're working with VEM on some other acquisitions through this similar buyout process, this FEMA buyout process, and that's the way we've done it. So that's the hope. Because you've already started with FEMA, and they've already submitted an application. VEM's already submitted an application to FEMA on your behalf. The town is identified as the buyer, so it would require basically this letter or some acknowledgement from the town that you support Fish and Wildlife being the owner in order for VEM to change the application and insert Fish and Wildlife as the owner of the property or the entity that would acquire the property.
So I'll just say the benefits versus our just owning it, we would need to certify it every 3 years and we would have to maintain it.
That would be on us to do.
No, I'm just saying, if we just owned it and didn't transfer it to you, that's what the town would have to do. But if we transferred it to the Fish and Wildlife, they would maintain it, plus we would get a tiny little bit of tax on it, whereas we wouldn't get any if we didn't. So those are the pros and cons. I wanted the board to know what that means.
Well, at one point, we have decided to remove some of the soil there for flood.
Well, that's a whole different thing.
Is that going to be allowed if we take charge?
Well, yeah, and so the Levi Martin property, the bridge abutments are right up to kind of his house, so that's not there. And we are working with Will on that grant to be able to do that flood bench over there. So he is working with us on that grant too.
And yeah, we were involved in a similar type project on other Fish and Wildlife land on Elmore Pond Road. So at the upper Lamoille access area there, we did there's a small berm and we removed that. I think we might have been working with the same consultant, SLR, and the Regional Planning Commission was also involved in that project. So this would basically be same group of players, similar type of project.
So they seem to be, willing to work with us on that grant, which is separate. But this is the Levi Martin, that little cabin there that's back in there. There's been quite a bit of disagreement on access down there. He believed that he owned it and he was shutting it off, or it's really fish and wildlife access for fishermen, or you can jump right on the rail trail right there. People who go down and walk their dogs and stuff.
Right.
Because the rail trail goes right through your property.
Yeah. And yeah, I mean, so that's something else that'd be good to discuss is if this acquisition goes through, or even if it doesn't, we would like anglers to be able to access the Fish and Wildlife property. And so if I assume you're in the process of developing parking, or maybe you already have some parking. I heard there was discussions about signs for the Lamoille Valley Rail Trail. So just making sure that we coordinate so that we're not pulling people away from the School Street side. We want to encourage folks, traffic into the village there. We're not trying to discourage people from visiting that area. So just want to make sure that we're on the same page there.
So what's the board's thought? Do you, are you supportive of writing a letter of support? Questions?
Yeah, I'm thinking,
Um,
I'll give that a once in a while. I'm thinking I have it. Yeah, thank you.
Yeah, I am just leery of the project that we have down there, and you're working on the grant.
But that project is not on this land. That project is on his land right now. And in the river, it's not on the Levi Martin land.
So the 12,000 yards of soil that they wanted to pull off doesn't come into Levi Martin's anywhere?
Not really.
No.
Huh? No. So,
Yeah, I mean, I think this part of the confusion is the boundaries are really not well known. And then there was a zoning, they were resubmitted to the town lister a couple of years ago with a different boundary on them that was incorrect. So anyway, there's a little bit of confusion about who owns what, which is why we need to do a survey to confirm all that. But based on the information we have that we've shared with Linda and others on the select board, we do feel like we own the property downstream from the abutments, or maybe around the abutments.
it's a big mess, and Tom can verify that. Even it's been surveyed, tried to survey in there, and they gave up. When the bridge was built, and a lot of that land up above is owned by the Agency of Transportation.
Right.
And the lower part is owned by Fish and Wildlife. And Levi, it says he owns 6 acres, but I don't see where he could own 6 acres.
Yeah, looking at the parcel viewer here, it shows this upper portion being his, and this entire lower portion from the new bridge all the way down to the rail bridge, which this is obviously inaccurate, but that's.
Is this from who? Is this from us?
It's on the Vermont parcel viewer.
Yeah, that the listers do.
Geometry was updated in 2019.
I didn't think he owned more than acre or so there.
That's what it seems like he really.
It's basically when the state road went through there, you had to go down the ramp to get to that camp.
You have to go down the ramp and then turn a bit and
Right.
then it's, you know,
But I mean, you still had to go down off on the pavement to
right.
get to his place. I didn't think it was much more than an acre. And then they went and put the overpass in. So they had to get something for right away there.
Once upon a time, the town was talking about doing some parking for snow machines and other rail trail access. Would the Fish and Wildlife Department be amenable to having a parking lot that could handle a truck with a snow machine trailer theoretically?
I mean, theoretically, I think our public access rules are actually written in statute. So there has to be wildlife-based activities. I think that would be the only complication. But so I think if it came to like an angler complaining about, hey, there's somebody else parked here kind of thing, then that could be a problem. But I don't think there's going to be many people fishing at the same time as you have snow machines. But so I can't say that, yes, that would be allowed. But it's the kind of thing that if it happened, I don't think there would be nobody would get in trouble.
So, but the trouble is, who's gonna plow that? That does not get plowed in the winter. So you can't go down there in the winter.
Yeah. Well, does it need, I mean, if we were to plow it, it would be for, because there's some of our, license holders are needing to access that area. I don't think we would plow it otherwise.
If it's open for snowmobiles, maybe there's somebody from Bast or, somebody's
Yeah.
just keeping that open. There's parking lots on farmers fields up in Frasbury on the cemetery road and stuff like that, but maybe somebody interested.
Yeah, and that would,
Or they're talking.
right. I mean, this is kind of getting a little bit off topic because the area between the existing Route 15 and the rail trail probably belongs to Agency of Transportation.
Yes, yeah.
So if parking was in that area, it wouldn't be on the Fish and Wildlife property anyway. It would be on the AOT property. So I guess it partly depends on where exactly the parking is, what needs to be plowed. But yeah, there would be, an AOT. There had to be an agreement with AOT. I assume one exists, but anyway, yeah.
Sounds like it'll be better utilized and easier to access for everybody if you guys owned it. I mean, to Linda's point, we've got to do the buildup and the maintenance of it. We have a lot of other irons in the fire in that regard.
The only thing I would stress is if we could still remove that soil without make that a floodplain.
Yes.
So can you, that's the map, Will's working with the planning commission and the engineers on.
Yeah. Yeah, and I just, like I said, I mean, we engage in floodplain restoration projects. We've done another one in Wolcott, and so I don't see any reason we wouldn't continue to do that here. And as Linda said, we're already working, or I've already been in touch with the Regional Planning Commission and engineer on this project.
Yep. So I don't see how we have more.
Yeah. The problem is that it's the whole area.
Oops.
But
And also, is that still a town road?
No.
Give it to Fish and Wildlife.
That's been abandoned.
Yeah, that's his.
The town gets a little bit of taxes, it doesn't have to worry about it.
They haven't done it. Seeing it.
Not having to worry about it, I like that.
Yeah, it seems like a no-brainer to me.
Haven't done.
Yeah, I feel like we have enough of a plan that we need to.
And it
develop
seems
manage.
like a place where people would go down and do bad things. It's right at the end, you know.
Yeah, so the ask is a motion for a letter of support.
Mhm.
I would make a motion to draft a letter of support for the Fish and Wildlife acquisition of Levi Martin FEMA buyout. Second that motion.
Okay, we have a motion on the table. Do we have any more discussion or questions? All those in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Okay. I'll write a letter. Do we write it to you? or do we-
You can write it, both. I actually sent you, I gave you a draft letter if you want to use it in the, packet. I sent you the little,
Okay.
there's a cover letter, a map, and then at the end of it. So anyway, it doesn't have to be too big.
Okay.
All right, great.
Take
Thank
care
you.
of it. Thanks for coming.
Yeah, thank you.
Okay, why don't we open up the budget hearings, planning commission zoning. Yeah. You give it to, Owen, he'll show it on the screen for the public. So you kept your budget the same,
I think I put the same budget numbers, so just move stuff around. Interesting, I added some to the salary, which I would like to start training someone, but, I just, whatever.
what time? Training someone because. Training someone because.
So I can retire. Couldn't be too much doing two jobs at the same time.
Have any questions?
I've been able to concentrate on this. It's not a reappraisal, and that's gonna be full time.
Anyone on the board have any questions of, zoning budget? Thank you.
We have to make a motion.
No, we don't accept them, we just accept them, but we put that, then we put it all together and decide whether. Taxpayers can take on that revenue.
So as I said, we're gonna start the appraisal next year. And I'm not exactly sure what the listers will be doing. So this is sort of a guesstimate. We will be doing the appraisal.
Well, you know, you're gonna be doing data entry. Are you gonna do, no, what are you gonna?
We're gonna be doing other notices, mailing. Not exactly sure how much time we'll be putting in. The office expense. There's something about the office software that wasn't in the right category last year or something. She had a big gap there.
At the lister,
You know, the office expense in the Western budget.
we were gonna find out if you actually are paying for, if we're paying for a copy of any licenses for you, but I don't
No,
know.
they have Apex, they have to
Right.
pay for it, and Nemrick, and, Emma, and Nemrick backup. I'll come to that.
There's a fee for the.
Oh, and then it's the fee for the, parcel update of
The maps and stuff.
the maps. I don't know where that shows up. You want to check that out some more and come back at another time and present?
Yeah, and I get better numbers.
All right, so this is just a draft,
Yes.
okay. Do we, does anyone on the board have any questions? Thank you, no, I guess not.
Janice Fletcher.
Move on to the rec committee, Stuart.
It's my first time here, he chaired this for a long, how many years was it? Long time. And, we should probably recognize your work. And, yeah, that was, it's great. And I think you're the last man standing too. So, he was the committee of one for a while. And so, we had sort of, an outdoor rec pickleball crew that, formed and was, looking at developing an outdoor space for that, and that's how I got sort of sucked into to the rec committee. And I don't have a printout for a thing for tonight, and I can bring it tomorrow. Can get it printed out for a budget, but and I just started a couple weeks ago. So part of it was that there really hasn't been a lot of a budget with it, right? It's been, the last year was 2,000 and change, and really the only expenditure was tournaments. And so there wasn't a lot on that. I think this is for this year. We're purchasing some two portable pickleball nets and lines and some equipment. for usage in the winter up at the school. On Sundays, there's a pickleball, group that gets together. It's advertised on the front porch forum. And it's been growing. We've got about 15 active people, probably 20 plus interested, and they're all ages, you know, teenagers to, I think it's like 12 to 70 years of a career, which is great. You know, we love it. It's for all comers. So part of my interest in the rec committee and is looking at, we play down at this court down past the fire station, the one that had a basketball hoop on it that got flooded out. And I think the basketball hoop's already been purchased, a new one for that site. But we're looking at that and saying, what would we need to do to one, get the basketball hoop back on there and get the site up for 2 pickleball courts. The beautiful thing about pickleball is it fits pretty easily to some degree in terms of other sports, right? And it's a huge, you know, within 8 years, I swear it's going to be an Olympic event. You wouldn't be surprised. And the kids are all playing in school, so it's kind of cool. But so we looked at that site, and we're looking at, and there's at least 6 or 7 grants out there, and I've already initiated 3 of them and trying to do some pre-application stuff going on. The project's looking like it's going to be probably 15 to 20 grand, honestly, to, you know, enhance the asphalt and resurface it and get it painted and that kind of thing. The parking area just got fixed. So, and potentially the idea is that the grants will cover it. You know, I think there's enough grants out there and some of them are pretty big actually. And this is a small project in terms of their eyes, specifically Forest and Water and those folks have got one that might be applicable that they've given out 30 or 40 grand to other initiatives like this in the past. So that's the dream. And so part of the rec committee, I don't know exactly what, you know, and I can give you a budget for what that might look like in terms of the budget for that project. But in terms of what we'll need in 2025, it's kind of a question mark, right? Because other than the portalets, there isn't anything on there. And, you know, there may be some of these grants that require matches. I don't know, that type of thing. And there will be some things that we'll have to purchase. Potentially we could buy line paint cheaper if we bought it ourselves, things like that. So, and even some excavation stuff that if we have minor excavation to expand. Right now, the pad is about 48 by 672. And it would need to be 72 by 64. We got that 18 feet on the long end, on the north to south. And so there's a box there, potential excavation, we could, it's just sort of that stuff. So in terms of the budget, I think the only thing I have on the definite one is we've got $500 expenditures for those nets and things like that. That I haven't gotten through with Linda yet, but I'm working on
But
it.
that's for this one.
That's for this one, right? So in terms of compare and contrast for next year, so the portlets will be on there again. I just don't know about what we're looking at next year, but it would be good to have some matching funds and some other unforeseen funds if we need them for that. And so, you know, the request would be $3,000 for the rec committee for 2025. Thinking that I'm hoping that that's more than is necessary, but that I would want to go less than that, just because of the unknown of the grants and things like that. The work.
How many months do you have the portal out there?
Yeah.
How many months do you have the portal out there?
It's May, June, July, August, September. And usually October, like usually middle of April to the middle of October or something along those lines. Depending on the snow and all that such. So it's like 5 months.
And do you have, it's 190.
190.
It's 950. And do you know, you had it up at the school last year, you're not going to have one there this year.
Okay. Probably so for the, if that's where they're playing, if they're using that, the athletic association using that for, their things, and they would want to come out there also, you could support that. And that would be for probably 2 months of their season. maybe middle of May, middle of June, is when their season is over. April, May, maybe June.
Will they be using this field at all?
Next year, that's unknown, depends on the timeline of the repairs or anything else that's happening there, which I don't know what these are.
So,
This field is currently being used, or the basketball court anyways, is being used by the pickleball players.
right,
So they should have, it would be good for there to be something there for them. Regardless of the baseball gets played there. That makes sense.
I just want to make sure that we're investing all this money in that ball field that people are using it, if they're gonna just move up to the school and use that, I mean, why do we keep investing down here? It's,
No, he said just, he submitted, no change.
no change to what?
But. He said he won't be attending. But
In a normal season, I know with the athletic association, there could be potentially 3 or 4 teams. And if there were, that this field is the main field, at School Street is the main field. And then up the hill at the school is used for softball if there are kids that play that. I don't know what their numbers are right now, but there's potential for actually 4 teams, 5 teams. Last year, I know they played all their games in other places.
Yeah, I understand that because the field was a mess.
Great.
I just know in the past you've you've done stuff to enhance the field and some grading and line striping. I mean, we're gonna be buying through FEMA, you know, the backstop and the bases and a big cargo thing that's gonna go in the bus barn for a shed. There's a lot of effort if nobody's gonna use it, that's all I'm saying.
Are you thinking the rec budget should have some of that in it?
Now, FEMA's paying for that.
Okay. Yeah, sure. I was thinking, talking about lines and things like that.
Well,
Yes.
he used to do that though.
Yeah.
And I don't know, it's like you have 2 groups that kind of intermingle.
Right. And it really depends on the numbers of kids that are involved. As far as the need to use it, the lower field, but if there are kids that are playing, then that's the best place for them to play. Granted, it plays often does. But yeah, I believe it's worth it. Putting that back together.
Is there someone who can, that be happy to do that around, like Flint potentially, someone who would know whether that ball field's going to be utilized next year? In 2020?
You need to have a conversation with Clint.
Yeah, okay.
I think you need to, yeah.
And
It's always been a supportive role that the Parks and Rec has had with the athletic association. They're kind of their own entity that runs their own thing, and then anything that I have been able to do to help support that.
okay.
And
Okay.
then I've tried to do.
Okay.
So.
I'll just try
So
to.
you are the rec
Yes.
department is a department of the town. The athletic association is not. But in the past, we have supported them and the kids by providing, you know, monies for them to sometimes upgrade their uniforms or.
Bleachers for a fence, other things like that, so. The facilities, to try to maintain the facilities
so that they can have their equipment and everything, do their thing in the facilities. That's kind of been our, the town in the Parks and Rec role in that.
You want me to call Flynn and rattle the cage and say,
Yeah.
what's the plan? Something that, and I'll follow with you. We're going to follow them.
Yeah, it's nice to know we're.
Okay. Now, in terms of the budget, you want me to bring you a written budget for 2025? Okay, I'll do that tomorrow.
Or you can email it.
Okay, great. Super. Yeah, well, that's what I haven't seen much.
It'd be good if it wasn't just a lump sum, if it was kind of some idea of what.
Sure. I'll break it down into.
Detail, but you know.
Yeah, I appreciate it. I mean, if anybody wants to play pickleball. Yeah.
Sunday, right? Sunday,
No,
Sunday. Sunday is a day, right?
It is Sunday at 9 o'clock at the school this year, you know, we're looking at the other side of the building. He's got a batting cages in there. He's got a load of room, and we're looking at that as a potential, you know, winter spot as opposed to the school. So we're looking at it. We're kind of looking at every possibility for this kind of thing, and also looking at, you know, creating some events around it, potentially to bring some community members together, might be a good thing. That might be in the budget. Eventually, you know, that might be something I could add to the budget. That's some kind of pickleball awareness or community building. I mean, there's a lot of grants for that out there too. Healthy Wilmore Valley, we throw money at that too. So it's not like, yeah. And I'll give you guys updates. We get some grants from our way.
So we've just had a very extensive restoration in North Wolcott at that ball field.
Yeah.
For years, people used that, would rent it out for leagues, but there aren't as many leagues anymore. So we've just been brush hogging it, but we've moved the parking area over.
Is that you hatched out a couple times in your truck?
Pardon? No,
No,
that's my fault.
Yeah, I thank you.
But anyway, it'd be nice to start brainstorming some uses for that. And one of the things I thought was like, I'm not familiar with it, it was like disc golf or something down there, or soccer. If it was used, we would mow it. Right now, we're just brush hogging it. Because it's not being used. I don't know what other recreational, I think they created a little walking trail along the river too. You know, right now it hasn't been seeded, you know, but next year.
If you walk, you always, don't get me wrong, you don't see where you see it with the straw down. Then you walk on that, actually grows better where you walk. Like compacting it slightly is actually faster, but so you don't feel guilty anymore. So I just wanted to share that.
But anyway, that is a piece of land that
Okay.
I would love to see some kind of happening there.
Okay.
I could see soccer, field hockey,
Yeah.
maybe if someone was that, you know.
Then we have the soccer field. Utilize it at some point.
Oh, you got soccer ones?
They're active, the frames are in the, you know, that where I have the net,
Okay,
so
so.
they can be put out in spring.
I think it's a property in North Wolcott. 4 or 5 acres.
Yeah.
4 or 5.
Yeah, you could have a disc golf there, that would be,
I think it's pretty cool.
Nice, they cleaned it all up, the debris and everything. Well, thank you.
All right.
Does anyone else have some questions for Stuart?
Nice to meet you folks. Yeah, I've seen you all at town meetings, so it's not the first time. All right. Yeah. Thanks for having me.
Pardon, you're up.
Yeah.
Boards committee.
Log into Zoom so we can share the screen.
Okay.
I can make that bigger too. Thank you. Good. So, this is what we're thinking right now. Last year we requested 3,500. This year we actually had the forest, so it's a little bit easier to plan. I bumped up the amount for speakers and public events. We'd like to have a grand opening celebration, sort of later in the summer after the trail construction is close to completed. That would be the trail construction from Sinuosity that's funded by Wolcott. Like to hopefully get it at a good time for people to come and we can make an event out of it. Signage and print communications, there's definitely some things that we want to do for signage. There's the ecological protection zone, we want to park off. There's there will be some signs. I'm expecting there's some signs actually. I need to go and double check with Sinuosity. But I think that their project includes signage for their trails. But even so, there's a lot of the town forest that's not in the area covered by Sinuosity trails. And just would like to be able to make it more inviting for people to come and look around. Having some signs and some maps will be a thing. So I expect us to be producing some maps and trying to make permanent maps put out this year. Website development is a line item on here. I know that got cut last year as was a grant that Bradley is developing the town website. So I wasn't sure what the status on that was. I figured to leave it in the proposal. And then 1,500. I think we had 1,000 here last year, or maybe even only 500 for kind of site development allowance. There's a number of things that that we want to progress this year. Forest management project in Stand 8 and the pine plantation, some erosion mitigation. I don't think this will pay for it. I think rather this will give us a little bit of budget in case we need to pay somebody to come in and take a look at what we want to get done, or get estimates, or get some support on getting grant funding for things like erosion mitigation on Gates Farm roads, erosion mitigation on the logging roads on the steep slope across the river from the village. Stuff like that. There's culverts that are look to be non-functional at this point on the Westover property, and kind of wrapping that stuff up with erosion mitigation on what I think of as the border parcel. So I think I don't know how it works with the town necessarily, but it seems to me that getting an expert opinion on what's a good approach to deal with all of this stuff, it might be nice to be able to have some budget to hire an expert to come in and take a look. So that's one of the things I'm thinking of in at least having $1,500 tagged for site development. So that's kind of what I'm thinking.
Can we go back to the website development, for more clarity? Are you thinking of having your own website or, being a part of the town's website?
Being a part of the town's website is fine. I don't think we don't need a separate URL if it's easy to find. I mean, search engines should be able to get into our site. At this point, it's not like we want to be Kingdom Trails or anything at all like that. This is only Wolcott, and the Wolcott Community Forest, having it come in under the town website.
Have you, so Michelle and I did meet with Bradley to try to figure out, the IT budget. And that's where it would fall under, or it could fall under.
Mhm.
I don't know. Michelle, would you suggest maybe Gordon and Bradley have a discussion about what they envision? If that's part of what he is proposing for us this year, or?
It's a flat amount, basically, it does any input or any updates, but yeah, it's not gonna be.
But this looks like more than is updated. It looks like the creation of more. So I think you two should have a discussion. I mean, that's why we're holding these budgets early, so you have time to go and come back.
Sure.
It would require special software, you don't need to interact with it, right? So it's require special software.
Don't have any particular plans for that. No. I mean, there's things you yeah, I'd like to have people be able to sign up for working on as trail committee or trail volunteer projects, having an ongoing event, like event calendar, and being able to have publicity or sign up sheets for stuff like that. There, I can imagine some small interactivity. But
Trails, once you get them developed, it'd be good to have some maps
yeah, absolutely.
of trails.
You can generate maps that are interactive, PDF, so they are. You can create PDF maps then that allow you to download them to your trails.
Mhm.
And it will then track you.
Alright.
So I can generate PDF maps that have that ability. Then you just serve the map online and then people download it into the trail software. And then you can track themselves on.
No. Yeah, cool. We should definitely do that.
Yeah. But that's not anything that's special that you have to serve, especially it's just a PDF.
Okay. Okay, yeah, I mean, 500 may be, it's a number I plug in. It's not, like I said, thought to cost out all the little details.
I just thought that you and Bradley should have a discussion before we finalize the budget and, he
Yeah.
knows how easy or hard something is and how much time it takes, and then he might be able to have a better idea if you need more or less.
Mhm. Okay, yeah, I can connect with them. I know Bradley and Roger have had some dialogue.
Yeah.
I also know that everybody's lives are busy and it does, there may not have been anything that they've been talking about in the last month. So
he's away, but he's easy to get with emails.
yeah. Okay, I'll definitely check with him and like I say, these are round numbers.
Yeah.
High level estimates. The other topic of discussion here is the fact that there is a stewardship fund next to Trust for Public Land, and at one point I had the thought, well, we've got the stewardship fund, why do I need to talk to the select board? The flip side of it, of course, is we need to talk if we were planning on spending money, then the stewardship fund is still sound money. So this is kind of what we're thinking about as ongoing operating expenses. If there is, something comes up in terms of erosion mitigation, things that we might be applying grants for or things like that, then well, imagine coming back with a whole separate project that's outside of its budget. This is just kind of the run mode maintenance stuff that I'm thinking about.
Can you email that, to us?
Sure, absolutely. Actually, on the in the Google Drive, but I'll email a copy.
Thanks. So while you're here, are you finished with that Budget?
Yeah.
While you're here, I thought if the board doesn't mind, well, the athletic association, there's no change, so we don't have any at this point. If we could, move on to the, Bear Swamp, no, the insurance. Because I emailed Gordon, you know, asked him what he thought they were gonna use the bridge for, because that makes a difference with the insurance.
Yeah, I read that, so the email from the insurance company and, I don't think we can really pitch the bridge as just a pedestrian bridge. Um, it's a lot more substantial than a pedestrian bridge. I mean, you know, people use it for walking across it, but, it's been used all along for, Rhoda to get up there with a tractor to do brush hogging. We continue to do that. I honestly, I mean, I think it's designed for log trucks to cross. It's a pretty substantial bridge. And you know, how else would you gonna ever get logs out of there? If they were owning that property as a, you know, with a forest management plan on it. So, so I don't know that we can really classify it as a pedestrian bridge.
But it wouldn't be open to the public to be driving over. It would be used to bring out logs or to, brush hog. I mean, that's why I'm asking you, do you envision the public driving over?
No, I don't envision it being a, you know, whatever, throughway for the public. There's the conservation easements, stipulate no motor vehicles on the property anyway. So, you know, I mean, we could probably manage an exception process if, you know, let's say some years in the future, we run out of other places to have celebrations between our ball fields and you know, fish and game properties and other things like that. If we wanted to be able to open it up for access, to have a pavilion, you know, on the other side of the stream or something. The bridge is there, but I don't have any plans. I don't see any plans coming up for that kind of thing. You know, all of our survey results, all of the opinions that we hear in the committee and people come into the meetings are in line with keeping the natural feel of the property and, you know, not having a lot of traffic. So, you know, the answer to your question, Linda, is I think you're right. I don't see it as being open for people to just drive over.
Okay, that's what we need from you, because I wasn't sure. I didn't want to tell the insurance company something that I didn't really know.
Maybe it need in the future a partial gate or something so pedestrians can go across, but vehicles can't maybe.
Yeah, you know, changing the gate is probably something we should look into. Might be something to, yeah, that might actually be something I should add to my budget.
Because you can't really get to the land on that side, on that section. I mean, there's a lot of good land there. You have to really walk the ways to get there.
To get around the bridge?
Yeah, and you can't jump over the river.
Yeah, no, you want to cross the bridge to get to the land, for sure. I mean, you could put on waders or something.
Yeah.
But it's, yeah, I mean, right now, the gate, you know, it's easy enough to open up the gate to pull the whole thing
It's
open
not locked,
and walk
yeah.
past, but, still, it'd be nice to have a, you know, a person-sized gate instead of a vehicle-sized gate. And we could lock it to keep the vehicles out and have it open for people to walk through.
Questions for board? Thank you.
I think let's stick around.
Just make sure the door latches, because Jax knows how to open it.
Okay. And sorry.
Good job.
So, we sent out the email from the insurance company, that was my project to reach out to them. She says to qualify for coverage for pedestrian footbridge, it must have very limited and infrequent vehicle traffic, such as park maintenance vehicles using it a few times a year. It is, so that's what I'm hearing from, Gordon, it's gonna be. Evaluation type for pedestrian footbridge would be agreed value. The least of the cost to repair or replace the property. Or the building value shown on the property schedule. Or the actual cash value of the property. Therefore, I would recommend when adding this to your policy through our property listing change form found on a web. Make sure the value is accurate to its worth. They're telling us that their appraisers don't appraise anything under 100,000, so we would have to have our own appraisal done or come up with a price. Keep in mind the exclusions in the covered pedestrian bridge extension. Covered and excluded for abutment structures, support, wing walls, piers, and pilings. Covered bridge and pedestrian. It does not cover flood, but if it is in a flood zone A, or prefix with an A, would be subject to 1 million per occurrence and 10 million all member aggregate. We know if it's in a flood zone. Most bridges are in a flood zone, given their location. So what's the board's thought? I mean, we want to take our chances, do we want to insure it?
Did you ever take a look at this bridge? Did you rather?
No.
Is it possible to have him take a look at it and see what he thinks the value? I think it's high enough out of the floodplain. I would just worry about the value at 100,000.
Well, they didn't say, they said, that they don't appraise anything under 100,000.
We'd have to pay out of pocket for an appraisal.
Well, we don't have to. We can either, have a appraisal done, if we pay out of pocket, to get an adequate estimate, or take what you feel it costs to rebuild and apply an inflation factor to get an adequate agreed value.
But it also excludes all of the, you know, the abutments, the structural supports, wingers, piers. So
So what does it cover?
it covers the decking, covers the decking and the steels with the. Which is not nothing. It's not, certainly not nothing, but
Is it 100,000?
Well, I don't think the whole bridge is.
So we can insure it anything, we just can't have it. They don't,
Well, once we have an agreed value, we both have to kind of agree on the value.
that value doesn't have to exceed 100,000.
No, the 100,000 only has to do with whether they'll come out and appraise it.
One question to think about is what happened, how would it hurt us if we completely lost the bridge? Right, and it's nice to have it. It's easy, you know, makes it easier for pedestrian access. It enables us to get up and brush off the fields. The fields are nice, but they're, you know, if they didn't get brush hogged in 20 years, they'd be forest again. You know, and it's the town forest. If the bridge got taken out by a flood, I mean, we've had 2 huge floods. It sustains damage. The repairs that are done should help to protect it from sustaining the same kind of damage the next time. I agree that having Lucy go take a look at it, or having somebody else who manages roads is probably better than just going on my opinion about it. But I think it's a pretty solid condition for what we need it for. And if it was gone, it'd be a loss, but there'd be ways for people to get onto the property. There'd be other things we could do.
And a pedestrian bridge could be replaced. I mean, if the goal is a walking bridge across the river, it doesn't need to be half, a quarter, a percentage of what that bridge is. Any type of potential logging that may happen, a logger would throw a tent bridge in, do what they need to do, and take the bridge with them when they left.
But a little ways upstream from that bridge, it could still cross with the logs.
Fair enough.
I mean, because it's down enough slope, and then it's a flat, you could put a lane in there, load the truck, out it go.
How close is it to the town and the rest over? Get up there, or it's over.
No, it's a ways, it's sort of 3/4 of a mile up East Elmore Road. Mitchell's property. Yeah, yes, yeah, it, borders quite a ways. Yeah. I mean, it would, so other ways to access that part of the property. Right, so you could potentially come in from the top side of, kind of through the Bass Trail, where the Bass Trail has access, and come down. It's awkward. It's really convenient to have a bridge. If we want to get in there and do something, it's great to have it. I think if insurance is, if it's cheap to insure it, great. If insurance is a major cost, I think we should have somebody like Lucian or other people look and evaluate what the real risk is.
Are you thinking in the future, maybe having someone wants to host an event, they could lease out field for an event or something?
I mean, I think the field is an interesting place for an event site. But like I say, I think there's other venues for events in the town. A lot of other places. I mean, there's Standing Wood Farms, for instance, where people have their weddings, and other fantastic places. There's the ball field on the North Wolcott Road, that people can drive right to. You've got the parking already available. What I would imagine for that piece of property, I mean, it's 3/4 of a mile more. It's up East Elmore Road. It's quiet. It's private. It's once you get across the stream and up into the woods, it's wilderness. And I think it's probably better to keep it as wilderness and as a wild space. And the bridge is great to the extent that we want to do maintenance, invasive species. If we want to do a harvest, I don't think there's the forest management plan. What we've heard from Emily Potter is, there's no reason to be going up there to do forest management activities in the next 10 years. The pine plantation right up the road here is a different story. In general, for the town forest, in terms of places to focus, lots of
lots of activity, lots of recreation, right? The land around the school, the land right behind us here and behind the, you know, sloping down onto the rail trail is fantastic for recreation. It's accessible. It's the right place to have a lot of people, being out in the woods. All of that stuff that's up in back is places for setting it aside for management for you know, old growth characteristics, to encourage old growth, to encourage forest diversity, to maintain the watershed protection, to support wildlife habitat, all of that kind of stuff. And so it's not that that doesn't require any management activity ever or any kind of access. It's great to have the bridge. But it's also not like it's a critical piece of town infrastructure.
Michelle, you see Lucian all the time. Maybe you could ask them if you go up and take a look at the bridge. And the questions are what he thinks the value is.
And that's just the decking, correct, for replacement value, correct?
The whole structure.
The whole structure, because I thought we could only price it.
Yeah, but we want to know what it's worth.
So replacement value of the entire structure.
What it would cost to build today, what he thought it would cost to build today.
Yeah, I mean, it's,
And also, you know, what kind of maintenance we might foresee in the next 10 years or something.
I mean, we had two major floods in the last couple of years. The 2023 event undermined some of the, what do you call it, the abutment wind wall.
And what are they?
And say again?
What are they about?
They're concrete and they're,
Concrete blocks?
no,
One's
they're-
ledge, one's ledge, so.
Yeah. Yeah, it's right on the ledge. It's pretty substantial. And, you know, I mean, and who knows, when are we gonna get another event like 2023? But, 2023, you know, gave it a knock, but, you know, the damage that it sustained was, I think you could still use it for any purpose you'd use it for today.
Oh, we'll revisit that again. Thank you. Want to move back to the purchasing policy?
So, I sent around the proposed new purchasing policy. I also sent around the existing purchasing policy we have. And, what I did with the new policy is I pulled a couple of, examples from Hyde Park and Johnson, just to see what they had listed. And then I kind of rearranged some of the wording because our old policy just jumped around everywhere. It was not clear. And I think you've probably read it by now, but the items listed in yellow, highlighted in yellow, were the points that I really wanted to talk about. With the first point being on page 2, the emergency purchases. I added that for an emergency purchase via email, the select board vote by email, an emailed select board vote, and based on the road foreman and road commissioner recommendations, the select board may award work from the annually approved at the ready contractor list. Because to make and make purchases, that other text has not changed, but I added that we are now going to go to the at the ready contractor list that we had already voted for August 21st, I believe. We voted to approve that. So that would be one addition I would recommend. The next addition or change would be under minor purchases. to remove that entire paragraph that says the select board authorizes the road commissioner or road foreman to purchase repair parts or services when necessary to keep equipment functioning without prior approval. Such purchases shall be reported to the select board on a monthly basis, along with the accounting status of the repair equipment, et cetera. So I moved that under major purchases. And then there has been some discrepancy about what amount the road foreman could be making purchases. Both the town clerk and the road foreman felt that understood that they could up to $10,000 make purchases. So I'll just read the paragraph. So however, the select board authorizes the road commissioner or the road foreman to purchase repair parts or services when necessary to keep equipment and infrastructure, which is what Michael Parity suggested we add, functioning without prior approval. So it says without prior approval up to $10,000. I believe it was up to 2,000 or 2,500 in the other policy, but that's not going to happen. So that would be another change that you guys can consider. The sealed bid process under procedures for bidding, I made the change that it said the notice of request of bids shall be made by letters, and we've been working with emails now. I don't think it's reasonable to expect people to drop off letters. So it seems like emails would work or suffice. Then on the next page, I added that a request for all bids and invoices be itemized for labor, equipment, materials, and I believe I wanted to add mobilization here. And separated by either class 3 or class 4 roads if applicable, because FEMA is always requesting this. And I think it's just something that we should have in our bidding process.
Should be, because if we had any. Yes, class 3 and class 4, but if we hired anything done for a class 2 or anything like that, should we just simplify that by saying that they are itemized by road class?
Sure, sure. I just wanted to separate that class 3 and 4, but yeah, by road class, okay.
So if you ever really think of it though, aren't you? No. You're not really putting anything out to bid for multiple roads. Like that, different class roads for one bid. Not really, but you just did once.
Corley and Turcot were both.
Yeah. Yeah.
And they had to be identified.
Mm-hmm.
And if we start to replace.
But only for FEMA.
Yeah, but it still makes it easier. So if you're gonna be, if
How do you bid on your project and the project's divided in the middle and then you gotta divide, you have to bid on this part and this part? How do you?
well, I think you would just do feet, you'd estimate feet and cubic yards or whatever you think, and then, you know, how much, the percentage of the project that would be on a, you know, class 3 versus class 4. And it's mainly just culverts that we would do on class 4. However, if, for example, for Turcot Road, we had to go extend just up slightly, just to put that road together enough to fix that culvert on Friendly Lane, it had to extend on the class 4. That's what we're trying to get FEMA to cover now. Or to ignore that we went a little bit over on the class 4.
Do you wanna change the previous amount from 10,000 lower?
Previous amount was 2,000 and no one was following it. They were all buying up to 10,000. and just not paying any attention at all to purchasing policy. Everybody had a verbal understanding that they could buy. The highway department could buy up to 10,000 without asking us. That's how $7,000 worth of work got done with a ton truck, and that's how $15,000 got done, worth of welding got done to truck 23 or whatever.
Culverts.
Well, and so that's the other question I have too is, we as a select board, we approve a budget, and in that line, I think it has, call it a $10,000 line for culverts. Every time the foreman goes out and makes a purchase, does he need to say, hey, I bought 11 culverts and I need you guys to say yes to this? Or it's in his budget, he can do what he wants?
No, it's just when if you bought one culvert for $12,000, maybe, but not.
That's where it gets very vague in this particular portion.
Or do we need better accounting of that so we know that better? Don't we currently have going?
My feeling is that we need to make it clear whether or not the highway department and all of the departments can spend within their budget without asking our permission, and if they can't, what the dollar amount is they can spend without talking to us.
So they've always, been under the assumption that if the taxpayers approve their budget, they could spend it. And that they could move lines
Mhm.
within as long as at the end of the year. But they always go over, but they don't bring that up.
Yeah.
They keep spending.
That's easy to say yes.
Well, because they aren't looking at their budget.
I just think, and I think this is where you're going with this, Michael, is that if Dylan were to have to get permission every time he was going to make a purchase, it would make him crazy and it would just halt so many things.
Yes, I don't really care whether or not he goes crazy. The biggest thing is we meet twice a month and can only officially make decisions in that time period. If he has a resident call and say, I have a culvert that's gone, and you guys say in your culvert policy that you'll fix this, I need a culvert, and that culvert for whatever reason costs over and above what he has in stock or anything like that. Now that person is stuck without a driveway until we can have an emergency meeting, or we can do an email vote, or we can do whatever we can do to give him a green light. Like I said, for me, my personal feeling, I just want to know and have it written somewhere so that everybody knows it, and it doesn't matter who's sitting in these chairs, and it doesn't matter who's sitting in that chair. This is what you guys can do without intervention, and this is the threshold where we need to be involved. And it also, very importantly, in here outlines that we need to have a monthly meeting on what their expenditures have been.
Yeah, they've never done, when nobody's following it.
Yeah. Was that in the previous policy? I didn't notice it was.
Pretty sure about it, yes.
Was it? Well,
But my personal feeling is that it's in the budget, they're entitled to spend it, not foolishly, but if they said that's what they wanted to spend on culverts, that if they need to be looking at their budget, and if that culvert line item has been used up and they need more culverts, then they need to kind of come to us. If they say, oh, well, we'll decide not to do any bridge repair this year, and we'll take it out of that line item. But we might want them to do some bridge repair, and they might have to wait. I think, to me, that's when the discussion happens.
That makes a lot of sense.
so it sounds, what I'm
I
understanding,
don't know how you put it.
I'm gonna say, what I'm understanding is they can spend within their budget item. I mean, my concern there is last year we gave the road crew 60,000 in class 3. And what does that 60,000 allow them to purchase? Can they purchase $60,000 in contract work? Can they purchase $60,000 in gravel? And where
As long as it goes on a class 3 road, I guess they can.
Well, and that's what I'm trying to get at here is I just want to know what that threshold is. If under $10,000, they don't need, as this draft is, they don't need to come to us. You know, all of these things that we have been doing bids, and awarding the Kingdom Timber for the tune of $2,000, $4,000, whatever it has been. Does the road crew need to come to us and approve that? I mean, we as the board gave them the money.
Well, the taxpayers gave them the money, but we are supposed to be overseeing that, it's being spent correctly and wisely, to a point of not micromanaging, but being on top of it.
It sounds like we could use monthly report from Dylan of what spent some of the bigger things on, so we know what's going on.
Someone to come in or just have a lender print the report.
If you could get an itemized list of what he spent it on, that'd probably help.
Well, I'd like to see the highway budget. I mean, that's not a big deal.
No, Linda could just print that, but. I mean, we do see everything when we look through the orders.
But we don't see the budget versus actual.
Right.
We do see what he's spending money on, but it's too late. It's like, oh. And there's nothing you can do because it's too late.
Yeah, and so I'm in favor of, rather than giving them, a blank check for whatever that budget line item is, I'm in favor of having a threshold, what that number is. I'm open to ideas. 10,000 is what it's written as now. $10,000 cap, within your budget line item, right? If he's out of repairs and maintenance money, he can't go and spend $10,000 he doesn't have. He has to come to us and we have to adjust a line item.
So is it 2,000 now or is it 10,000 now?
I think it's something like 2,000.
Yeah, and
I
we're
propose-
making it 10.
But in everyone's head, it was 10.
Well,
They've been
you
up.
can't read.
Well, but if you read the policy, it was,
Right, I defy you to read that and show me where it claims 2,000.
is it up in there?
Just because of how it's worded, all major purchases over $2,000 require prior approval from the select board. It goes on, and then there's the next paragraph is, if there's federal funding used, 2,000 in the case of construction projects subject to Davis-Bacon. It goes on and on and on, and for all major purchases, 5,000 and 10,000, we need rate quotations from 2 qualified vendors. There's nothing clear and concise. I can see how somebody bumbled that and didn't know that 2,000 was the cap. Because even further up, $250 to $2,000, $250 to $2,000 requires prior approval from the select board.
That's silly.
It's just all over the place.
That's silly, silly, silly. At one time, we bought these, probably still have them, purchase orders. They had to do purchase orders.
And I feel like I'm picking on the road crew here, but they are our highest expense of the entire budget. I mean, they make up a great percentage. Nobody else wants to buy things that cost thousands of dollars on a daily basis.
But any budget, though, we need to have a handle on what they're doing, like, I just don't want a lump sum, I wanna see it broken out, what do you want for your $5,000? What are you spending it on?
I think requesting that Dylan's or the road foreman sign budget and present it one time a month, every month, is gonna be a better process of calling Dylan's attention to the spending and to the budget, as well as to yours. So that it's a good way to monitor it. Because I don't think that's not really happening right now.
Do you think he would want to come to monthly meetings?
But I think as long as he signed the budget, so he recognizes and he can explain any overages or any time that he's getting close. And can just give a brief, I can even type it up for him, just some sort of report about future work that he thinks may exceed, like what's his plan if he's already exceeded his class 3 road budget, but he's going to be pulled from the class 2, or what's he gonna do for culverts?
Yeah. There needs to be some kind of communication.
Yeah, it certainly feels like there's two pieces to this, the reporting aspect.
Yep.
And the other thing is clarifying what he is actually allowed to do. I mean, myself reading that, like I just said, I am thoroughly confused reading the previous one. And I feel like everyone else who's read it is as well. And a part of that reporting, I still like the idea, whether or not it matters or gets used, I still like the idea of having the invoices especially, but even the bids, having those broken down into road class. Especially if it streamlines the work that your position does, trying to get FEMA to pay us.
It does, and I think it's smart because in the long run, it helps Belinda make us. Just I'm working with Lucian now, and we would like a stronger reporting of, how much money are we putting into our class 3 roads, and if we just repaired Marsh Road, when do you think we're going to have to repair it again, or is this road a significant problem? And so we're only tracking now based on FEMA, but we do have the codes, so it might make more sense to start to be able to track it that way.
The more information is good for decision making.
I think with this 10,000 limit, at least Dylan, if he finds a deal, like you're saying, for culverts, he's going to spend 15,000, at least he uses a heads up.
If he has time, at least an email or
Right.
something.
Yeah.
Because if it's a sale, like he got a bunch of culverts last spring on sale. So he jumped on it.
I mean, it's good to save money, but then again, well, gee, you're $20,000 over budget. Where and why?
Well, you could buy 10,000 today, 10,000 tomorrow.
Well, but so maybe we should add a contingency to that it's, as I was saying before, it's $10,000 cap per occurrence. And the hard limit is whatever your budget line item.
So I have, if it's in the budget, then they could spend up to the line item in the budget. And if it exceeds the budget, they need to select board approval. Or it exceeds the $10,000 cap within the budget line.
And you need to be clear, budget. Does that mean his budget of 585,000, or does his budget mean culverts?
Line item.
Okay, so it has to be clear on that it's, because there's two different meanings there.
But obviously, no, we wouldn't have it. I was thinking about the leases, but he has to get your approval to do anything.
Well, and then same thing too, like sand contracts. And I mean, there are some major purchases that this obviously wouldn't apply to. Like sand is a more than $10,000 expense, but.
So we are keeping the $10,000 cap as long as they can purchase something, say, for example, culverts. He had a $20,000 spending limit on culverts. I know it's not that, but he could spend up to $10,000 within that line item budget, or he could spend up to $20,000 because the line item budget allows him $20,000.
In my opinion, it should be $10,000.
Up to 10K within the line item budget.
Yes. That way there any $10,000 purchase that because that's an absolute pile of money. And as a matter of fact, when I first spoke with Dylan about it, I asked him what he thought. Actually, I had already emailed you at that point, but I asked him what he thought the number should be. He's like, I don't know, 3, 5, and I had written 7,500 to you. I mean, so it sounds like it could be whatever we want it to be. I know everyone has been operating at $10,000, but I mean, not to take Linda's line here, but what's the board's pleasure? Is 10,000 fair?
Even at 7,500, it'd still make him think before you would jump. That's mine. And having a monthly report, we haven't had monthly reports for at least a year.
And we as a board need to hold that building's feet to the fire.
They are costing us a lot. There's nothing we can do about the school, but I mean, 7,500 isn't that bad a position. I mean, when you start talking major repair on a truck and you go, well, gee, I spent 15,000. It was in my line budget.
Equipment repairs is over 10,000. Salt, it's whatever state rate is. Culverts is 15. Winter sand, we always put that out to bid. Honestly, construction, that's about it. Mowing and paving. There aren't a lot of them that's over 10, you know, that's over 10,000.
Sounds like 7,500 would catch any major thing for the smaller ones, but still not a small number either.
I can think though that culverts can sometimes go over that pretty quickly. Again, he's purchasing in, you know, length. Yeah.
So normally he purchases them, but they're not on sale. That was a one-time fluke. So like you can't wait, I mean, waiting a little bit or something, sending out an email or something.
That could happen. I just think it's, so for example, on Elmore Pond Road, when we did the grant and aid or whatever, or Hines Road, when you're doing these projects and you need multiple culverts. Hines is a bad example because we were just robbing from other areas.
That's a grant. It shouldn't be coming out of their budget unless,
Well, it has to.
It was-
to pay for it. He has to pay for it.
well, it doesn't come out of his budget. It doesn't get coded to his culvert use. It's just, it's part
And that
of,
has to be specified here
it
too.
is part, well, that's just bookkeeping. If it's a grant, it doesn't come out of your budget because you're getting the money back. It just comes out of the general fund. It gets coded and charged to that grant.
You can
It's
still,
all in paper.
yeah, even still though, I tend to agree that should be an exclusion. You know, when working with grants or things like that, this purchasing policy doesn't bar them from purchasing what they need to in order to perform the duties of the grant. I mean, again, I don't want to bog us down. I don't want to slow them down.
No, but we're being clear. We're adding clarity to this thing, so.
Yeah.
Anyone can read it and understand. I think it's important, even if we don't finish tonight, to take another look so that there's clarity.
Well, so what's the pleasure, 7,500 or 10,000? And I can draft something up again and send it around. What do you want to think about it? I could just.
I prefer 7,500 personally, but I will go with 10. That's the majority.
Y'all are gonna hate me, but I was honestly kind of happy when Dylan said 5. You know, I don't want to sound like I'm trying to control everything he does, but,
So I go with 10.
and I would go with 10. I would happily
I
go
would
with 10.
go with
but-
10, but I prefer 7.
No, I mean, that's what they have.
Oh.
And
But
that's why I was surprised that.
But so now that we're adding things like exclusions from all these grant aid things, I mean, honestly, how applicable is that $10,000 number? Yes, he bought culverts on sale at one point. I believe the culvert that you
And
guys,
some of them went to Granite Aid. I mean, some of those, they just get distributed, so.
and you know, the 4-footer that was just put in at Dad's, I mean, that one was more than 10, but how many examples of a $10,000 expenditure per occurrence are we seeing? The salt, like you
I
said,
don't
is a
know,
state
because
rate.
I don't know what's going on.
No report. How can you tell what?
Like I said, I don't see that much of it in the orders
Neither do I.
when I breeze through them. I see a lot of stuff that's around that $5,000 threshold. I mean, the monthly gravel bill when they were working this summer hovered between 5 and 8. Some of that was coded to flood stuff. I mean, it gets entirely messy, but
The things that bother me most is like a big truck repair, and I would like to know ahead of time. I'm not sure what figure that would be, that's the only thing that really bothers me.
What if it's an emergency repair, however, like they have to get that truck up and running?
I want just an email, notice, something, you know, maybe we want to say, buy a new truck. I don't know, but, it's kind of good to know what's going on.
And is that an email for permission just to spend it or to make the repair, or an email just for notification?
I think notification, I don't know how the rest of you feel.
I would be fine with that. I'm wondering if maybe we should go to per meeting, we have the project manager report, we have your report. You know, I don't know if I necessarily care to see the entire highway budget, you know, entered and printed in the whole thing, but if there were
A major highway,
just a one-page white paper on this is what we spent, you know, the ton truck went in, had this done, it cost this. You know, like I said, I'm not trying to tell them how to run their day. I don't need them to ask me permission. I just, like you said, it would be nice to know. what's
Yeah,
going on.
a plow truck went off the road, had to get towed and, you know, had to be fixed, the spray gets bent. I don't want my neighbor to tell me that.
So you would like that in an email or like a monthly report?
Well, a monthly's too late. I want an email if something like that happens.
Sort of like a notice of occurrence.
Yeah, I don't know what you
You
want.
know what I mean? It take common sense, you know, it's like not,
You can't do that. It has to be written. It has to be so that any chimp
Yeah,
can
but it
put
won't
any
be-
one of these
it
chairs.
would, that would not be in the personnel policy.
No, it wouldn't be, but it could be in a highway department standard operating procedure. Either way, my belief is that it needs to be as simple so that no matter what 6th grader you set in my chair, your chair, any of your chairs, the chairs over there, whoever. There's no questions. It runs itself. This is the way that it happens. When it doesn't happen like this is what happens. You know, not only do we need the reporting piece of it, but we also need the what happens when you miss a report. Yes, I understand it was snowing and we'll be gracious and you can have a couple of weeks to get it to us, but it doesn't excuse you from doing it. The board has said for a long time that there hasn't been an open line of communication between these two buildings. We have no idea what's going on. I agree with that. We don't. Step 1, simplifying purchasing policy. Step 2, reporting.
Well, let me see what I can, like, just pull together some of these changes for the major purchases. and wording and get it back to you guys.
I have a bunch of stuff that I just emailed to you around the take up for time.
Maybe staff to
Some of them are just questions, you know, necessarily changes.
But any other, on the other changes, were there any other concerns?
Well, I did have some, but do you want me to just do them?
Well, I don't know if the board wants to discuss them or not.
Well, on page 3, almost to the end, a federally funded non-competitive purchase for 250,000 or more require a cost analysis. Who's gonna do that?
I don't know, I think that was standard, and was that in our other one as well?
Yeah, I believe that that's a holdover from, and I'm assuming that that got borrowed from some federal process.
It could be.
Well, federal things, sometimes you have to do a cost benefit analysis, like the 3 buyouts. Or, we're having to do it Gulf Road Bridge, but we don't have to do one, do we?
No, I think for the hazard mitigation, when we were meeting with Michael the other day for FEMA, they said that it qualifies, you know, it costs a cost.
They do it though. They do it. We don't do it. I just don't see why, I don't know.
I tend to agree. I mean, it is word for word here in the other policy. But it's under the heading of emergency purchases, which is a secondary heading after the initial emergency
Yeah, there we go.
purchases.
So that's where I said it. See,
Why
like,
are they under? Definitions.
Yeah, on the old policy, page 6.
Something in the new one. Federally funded non-competitive purchases for 250,000 or more require a cost analysis to determine the reasonableness of the proposed pricing and should be completed in accordance with the requirements of the federal or state agency issuing the grant funding. What does that have to do with purchasing? I don't know.
I left it in there. I don't know, but it's a good question.
It probably is much like how we had to amend our class 4 policy, putting us on the hook. It probably is another one of those things that should be in there for our insurance or for our, because I mean, that again, in the old policy, this entire thing where it starts talking about bid processes and federally funded projects looks like it was copy and pasted from another
All right, I'm
thing.
gonna do some research on that. I won't hold you up. Under the steel bid process, I wondered if you could add advertised in newspapers of general circulation in the region on the town website and state bid system, but I thought you should put an amount, like if it's over 50,000. FEMA really likes you to post on the state bid system.
Okay, what part, where?
That's page 3.
Oh, okay, I see. Advertisements placed in the general newspaper circulation in the region, as well as what were you saying?
On the town website,
Okay,
and I thought you should put the state bid system in parentheses for bids over an amount. I didn't come up with that amount, 50,000, I don't know. I mean, I don't think you have to put little ones on there, but
And they just revamped that whole system actually.
yeah, we use it all the time. I've used it all the time for all these FEMA things and a good response. I just put the demolition RFP on there and I got 13 people. Because there's people all over the state that come.
so we
Nobody,
got Bruno,
no, huh?
so we got Larry Bruno.
Yeah. Otherwise, who are you gonna get? You're just gonna get local people, with the newspaper.
But a lot of them, if they have to travel too far, they can't underbid the local people.
Our bidders can't hurt, you never know.
No.
Actually, somewhere I think it says.
Could I make a comment?
What? Yeah.
So I was thinking as you were talking about the road crew purchases, that when Mike was talking, I was thinking it would be really nice perhaps, and from an employee perspective, I would think it would be beneficial if maybe Mike would go and meet with Dylan and just get Dylan's ideas about what what he could do, like, like almost like coach him into coming up with ideas about how he can communicate with the board better.
Yeah,
Does that make sense?
if I'm understanding you correctly, it does make sense. It's something that I have worked kind of off and on with him, almost since I got on the board. And, full disclosure, I say this every time we talk about the highway department, Dylan is one of my best friends. So I don't feel bad saying that he lacks a little follow through, and honestly, so do I. We talk about ideas, we talk about things, and nothing has come of it yet, which is why I'm really advocating that we put something in paper as far as a standard operating procedure, that it doesn't matter who's on the board and it doesn't matter who's the road foreman, the procedure will be followed, the policy will be followed.
So what you're talking about with follow through, one of the things that I could envision as being a reason for struggling with the follow through is the not having the structure to follow through with it. So if maybe, something could be worked out, like he could have a form to fill out, like on a weekly or monthly basis or on an as needed basis, something that gives him a format so that he doesn't have to like think of it, and maybe even there being a routine involved, like structure.
Yeah, we sat down in his basement, probably 8 or 9 months ago and came up with something like that. And again, it just is one of those things that for whatever reason, the format that he and I designed didn't work, and it either didn't work on the FEMA side of things here or didn't work with the workload that he had there. Again, it didn't happen. I mean, these are excellent ideas. I'm just trying to let you know that, I've tried those two, but I am open to more.
Right. And so, and what I'm thinking is if the board just delivers the policy and says you must do this, first of all, it sounds like one of those mandates that, very few of us like to be told what to do, right, out of the blue. But I lost my train of thought with the rest of it, but I don't know. I take back my
Well,
butt.
Monica, Kurt Klein worked with him for a couple of years too, and had a procedure, and it was set up that every week he was gonna email the board and tell us what he was working on, because so we'd know what kind of roads, if we got calls, and it's hard to answer the public and help him with the public concerns if we don't know what's happening, and that lasted about 4 weeks. We've tried lots of different things.
So I'm imagining his job being out on the road all the time, and in and out of the shop and doing all kinds of things, and having a hard time finding the time to remember to do that.
Probably the time that's not really his strong point, administration. But I think we'll be talking a little bit more in an executive session for some solutions to that.
Thank you. It's late. I'm done.
That's all right. But yeah, we understand where you're coming from, that
And to be clear, I also agree that as a part of this reporting mechanism, either he should come up with something that works for him, or we should provide him with something that works for us. It's always easier to fill in a multiple choice questionnaire than it is to do short essays. So if we had a form that he may use, that would make his life easier, I think.
Google Forms, if he has access to a Google account, sending him a Google form is, or giving him access to Google Forms is very pleasant.
Great.
I'm just gonna, it's getting too late, I'm just gonna send you these things. It's already. Still have to, do a few more things, but you were gonna talk about, if that's all right, can we just come back to this? You wanna tell us how Bear Swamp Walk went?
It was an interesting day. There was 19 people, including myself. Gordon's father was there, Steve Young, and he talked about mostly the Arctic wildlife and plant life that was there. One of them being black spruce, which is hardly heard of around here. And there was a few people that brought up ideas about making it a place for people to go and have picnics, parties, so forth and so on. But with this Arctic wildlife and foliage, plant life, and some of them are just indigenous to that area, like on the town forest. I think the outcome was more or less just leaving it to the people like botanists and bird people to go and do counts and look at these plants. And it's basically a half to 3/4 of an acre that's anything where you can stand on. The rest is all swamp, alders, and wildlife that should be preserved. So I think the best thing is to let the town forest set up a committee of no more than 7 people, write up a plan, put it into the management. And that's going to cost about $6,500. But I think if we set up a GoFundMe page, people in the area would give them money, and that would be paying for it. The only other thing that was brought up is, since Edward Dew had so many vehicles up there, who knows what oil pollution and whatever was done. And I think maybe a brownfield study would have to be implemented just to make sure. But right now, we're having a lot of people that are just going up there and throwing out garbage.
Are we?
Yeah. I think I counted like 3 bags, 30-gallon, 40-gallon garbage bags, refuge. So I guess the outcome to what most of the people there was is just basically use it for bird count and people that want to go and study wild plants.
We're gonna do an ecological preservation zone around all the Arctic
Well,
stuff.
it would fall in with what's already there. UVM, Sterling, and all the other ones have already put it into the land reserve trust. So it would just be that one little piece more of 9 acres.
Were the people there, supportive of our conserving?
Yes. And they were the people mostly from the crossroad in I guess you call it East Hill.
Put in some trail cameras maybe and catch some bastards that are leaving their garbage there.
You could, but it's basically back in where Ed Ledoux had his hut. I guess if that's what you want to call it. So it's deeper in. They're not leaving it up by the road. It's down in there, so.
Well, a $500 to $800 fine will probably discourage
Do we
them.
need a gate? Do we need to have a
There's
gate or
already a
something
gate.
up there?
There's already a gate. It's
There
just,
is?
well, it's that cable. So they can't drive out there. They physically gotta lug this out there.
Yeah,
Is it
$8 a
started, or
magnitude.
Has it been there a while?
It's been there for probably a month to.
Yeah, because I walked out there with Jim Ryan, Kate, earlier this year. It was probably in the spring, and there was no, we didn't see any garbage.
They have to lug it in.
Yeah, they had the money, but-
Getting named.
I mean, we're talking a good quarter mile in. Just dump it. It's insane. I mean, there is trail cameras now that you can purchase that will alert a cell phone. And right then and there, start showing video.
That's kind of cool.
They're not cheap. It's about $500, but then you gotta sign it up for AT&T. That's the only one that carries this area forward.
Yeah, right. Cell coverage in that spot is not great.
And that's why AT&T is the only one that. So it costs you probably $35 a month.
Right.
Okay, thank
You could
you.
recover it with a $500 fine, right?
Yeah, you would cover your pay, camera, and
Yeah, as soon as they're done making installments.
yeah, slap them on the hand. First offense will be.
No. Find them with the bag up there.
Oh, easy.
Sorry, I know that's not very civilized, but it would discourage the behavior in the future.
All right, I'm just gonna give you a quick update. It's gonna be on the agenda for next week. I sent you the email, I believe, about the bridge, but I wanted to let you know that, the construction for the bridge closure is going to be, March 2nd, 2026 through September 25th of 2026. And that's when the contractor will be allowed to completely close the School Street Bridge. They did have some questions. I sent you the email, that we will talk about next week. And I'll make a motion to go into executive session. 8:29 p.m. I think we could do it, could we? Huh?
See you next time. Yeah. Thanks, everybody.
You want me to keep the recording?
We could go in. We can put it in.
Yeah, we can. I'm sorry, did someone that?
Yeah.
I'll second.